Okay,
It's
we're
my first
live.
hearing, so I'll go through it if I need to.
Okay.
We ready?
Good, yep.
Okay.
Blind leading the blind.
Call the meeting to order here, the November 29th meeting of the Millwood City Planning Commission. We'll start off with a roll call. Commissioner Rickard. Here. Commissioner Molitor. Here. Commissioner Wu.
Here?
Commissioner Beasy. And Chairman Ankney is here. We do have a quorum. First order of business is the approval of the agenda. Looks everything seems to be in order to me. If I could get a motion to approve, I'd appreciate it.
I'll make that motion to approve that.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. We're looking at the meeting minutes from our last meeting that we had, which I believe was in August. I looked them over. I didn't see anything wrong with them. Anybody else have any comments on the minutes? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that brings us to the public hearing. And before we get started here on the public hearing, in regards to a zoning text amended, City Attorney Worst has a statement he'd like to read.
Yeah, well, or just make a comment to the planning commission here. Thank you for allowing me to attend your meeting. It's been a while, so it's good to see you. So the zone amendment or the zoning code amendment that's before you tonight involves chapter 1752 of the municipal code. For those not aware, there is currently a land use petition act matter, a LUPA action pending. Under that chapter itself, there was an application filed in the city, determination made by the city council, and that has since been appealed to the Superior Court under the LUPA statute. I want you to go ahead and proceed as if, well, not as if, I want you to proceed without regard to the litigation. Those two matters are unrelated in any way, shape, or form. So I don't want, I'm here just to emphasize to the planning commission that your determination tonight, your actions, your findings, your conclusions should be taken strictly on what's in the record presented to you in your determination without any regard to any other matters pending or not pending at the Superior Court. So I think, you know, to the extent that there's comments or public comments or testimony or anything during the hearing with regards to that, those have no bearing on, those should have no bearing on your determination tonight.
All right, thanks for the clarification.
Great, thank you for the clarification. Please make note that Commissioner Beasy has arrived. Okay, that brings us to opening the public hearing. So first part of to open the hearing is I'm going to ask anybody who wishes to provide testimony to sign in on the sign-in sheet provided, which is on the table right there. Please print your name and your address clearly so information can be mailed to you. And the first question I have for the Planning Commission is there any Planning Commission member that has any interest in the proposal, has had any communications regarding the proposal outside of the hearing? No conflict of interest? Okay. Is there anyone present in the audience that has an objection to any members of the Planning Commission hearing this proposal? Seeing none, we'll move forward. That brings us to, one thing I want to make sure that we kind of lay some ground rules for when we do have public testimony. All comments should be made from the podium. Individual making comments shall first give her name, address for the official record. All comments shall be directed to the Planning Commission Chairman, that's me. Addressing individual commissioners is not allowed. No comments should be made from any other location or from anyone making out-of-order comments shall be subject to removal from the meeting. No demonstrations, applause, or audience participation during at the end of anyone's presentation is allowed. And each person is allowed to speak one time and testimony is limited to 3 minutes. With that, we will have the staff presentation.
Good evening, Commissioners. Sorry, I'm behind the screens here.
I'm gonna present the staff report on ZTA 2023-01. And the proposal is a non-project action for a citizen-requested zoning text amendment to repeal Millwood Municipal Code, Chapter 17.52, Manufactured Home Parks, with City of Millwood proposed modifications to Chapter 1706, Table of Permitted Uses, Table 17.1, to address the manufactured home park use and ensure consistency with the city comprehensive plan, internal code consistency, and consistency with Washington State RCWs. The application was submitted on October 6, 2023. The notice of public hearing and SEPA availability was published November 13th. It was posted and also issued on November 13th. The staff report was issued early on November 17th, 2023. Tonight is your public hearing, and following the public hearing, findings will be prepared, and it will be forwarded to the Washington State Department of Commerce and State Agency review. That's anticipated for probably December. I had November, December, but most likely December. And then the City of Millwood City Council review is going to be date to be determined, but likely early 2024. The approval criteria for tonight is Millwood Municipal Code, Section 14.12.150, amendments to development regulations. And essentially, the Planning Commission shall base its recommendations to the City Council on the following criteria, and there are 3 criteria. The suggested amendment is consistent with the purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan for the physical development of the district or city as applicable. Number 2, the suggested amendment will not adversely affect the health and safety and welfare of the public. And number 3, the suggested amendment is not in violation of any state or federal law. And then upon your recommendation, the City Council shall, after an examination of your recommendation, either affirm the suggested amendment as revised by council, or disallow the suggested amendment. The reviewing agencies, we only had 3 comments submitted. Spokane Valley Fire District had no comment, essentially. Spokane Tribe commented on basic review requirements at a project level. And Department of Ecology commented on their water resource program. Didn't affect the SEPA. And then the comments were supplied to you for those. We did not receive any public comments during the review period on this. So staff analysis included legal compliance and consistency review. The proposed zoning text amendment was reviewed for consistency with federal law governed by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, and Washington State law concerning manufactured homes and manufactured home parks, including RCW 35A21 and RCW 35A63. It was also reviewed for consistency under WAC 365-196-500 for internal consistency of the zoning code itself, and WAC 365-196-800, which outlines the consistency requirements between the development regulations and the comprehensive plan. In summary on that, for the comprehensive plan analysis, as currently written, the zoning text amendment meets consistency requirements with the city comprehensive plan. And for the zoning code, again, as currently written, the zoning text amendment meets consistency requirements for internal consistency. In summary, the review process for the zoning text amendment complies with MMC requirements and Washington state law. The criteria for amendment under the section I quoted have been met. Whether or not you find that it's approved or not, that are recommended for approval, that is the determination of the Planning Commission. The proposed zoning text amendment has met consistency review requirements. And again, as Brian quoted, the proposed amendment must be evaluated without regard to litigation, so reviewed per the Millwood Municipal Code standards. Can you go ahead and put that up? So my last part is to go over the draft recommendations for the Planning Commission. Based on Millwood Municipal Code, I provided 2 options that I saw were available. Option 1 was recommendation of approval. The Planning Commission recommends approval of ZTA 2023-01 and finds that the criteria in MMC 1412-150B have been met. The suggested amendment would be consistent with the purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan for the physical development of the district or city as applicable. It will not adversely affect the health and safety and welfare of the public, and it is not in violation of any state or federal law. Second option would be recommendation of denial, saying that those criteria have not been met, and then those recommendations would be forwarded to City Council for review. Are there any questions on the staff report?
Any questions?
Will there be a chance later for specific questions?
Yeah, but if you have staff questions right now. Commissioner Ricker, do you have a question?
I'm a little confused about the instructions to not consider pending litigation. If in fact we have to consider whether or not it's in violation of state or federal law. Those laws are evidently not being affirmed yet, pending the outcome of that litigation.
You would be, with reference to state or federal law, it's the revised Code of Washington and the Washington Administrative Codes. The litigation that's pending involves determination of application of the current interpretation or application of the current version of Chapter 1752. So it would not be affected by, that litigation should not be affected by tonight's consideration by the Planning Commission.
Commissioner Beasley?
Yeah, I've got concerns about our existing manufactured home park and what this does to that. I looked up on page 7, the suggested change to the matrix is that it must comply with RCW. I looked up the RCW, and the RCW does not have any requirements for manufactured home parks. It merely gives permission to cities to make requirements for manufactured home parks. So I don't see that it makes sense in the context of our matrix for it to be there even.
So, for the C1 zone, the C, it notes existing approved manufactured home parks only. So it would only be existing approved ones.
Yeah.
And must comply with the RCWs. That is more for a city requirement. If you look, in, I believe it's 312, RCW 35A 21312, it denotes more what the city can't do. So the city has certain requirements, and because that manufactured home park was permitted and has been around for years, but specifically pre-2008, it says things that the city can't do. And so we have to continue to allow it in its use, and that's supported by the comprehensive plan as well.
Right, but shouldn't, this matrix was set up for developers and for property owners rather than for the city. So it doesn't make sense to me that we're telling the city what it can and can't do under the guise of giving direction to property owners, or
It's actually,
it feels out of place in
Yeah.
this position, I guess.
it's actually set up for city staff as well, I guess, because I have to comply with the matrix and I have to follow what it lists as the conditions on there.
Right, but if the city has not, that RCW says, okay, you can require if they move in an RV that it have an internal toilet or that they have restrooms on site. Okay, if we have not said that, if we have not put that in our code, it's really irrelevant whether the state says we can or can't.
It's more the design standard portion of it, so the code outlines what a Millwood manufactured home has to have. Because that's an existing one, obviously, they're not gonna comply with the current design standards for manufactured homes. So by referencing that, it says that we cannot enforce those design standards on the existing park off of Trent, I believe it is.
It feels a little like we should have some code, that RCW sets up what code we can have. But if we delete what we currently have, then we essentially have nothing, because this is not the code. This is just simply saying you can make a code if you want.
I'm gonna gavel this down, that we're getting into more deliberation instead of a question and an answer.
Okay.
So we can pick this up during deliberations. Okay. So with that, does the applicant have somebody that's gonna do a presentation? Or is it all public testimony?
There are applicants here. that
Okay,
we
is there one, okay, so I'm gonna ask you, does the applicants have one representative that's coming up to do a 10-minute presentation on this project, or on this amendment?
I think there are 2 or 3 of us that have much shorter presentations.
Okay, so you don't have one no, I mean, we'll get to the public comment where everybody has 3 minutes. I'm just saying, do you guys, has a group, is there somebody that's doing a overall presentation? Okay. Come on up to the podium and introduce yourself and give us your address.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
My vertically challenged, I have to move that down a little bit. My name is Tina Seifert, and I live at 10507 East Empire Avenue. I appreciate the chance, the opportunity you guys are giving us to be able to support the application that we have, several of us have submitted. Repealing Millwood Municipal Code 17.52 in its entirety is in accordance with the comprehensive plan, which will remove a substantial negative impact on nearby property values, will contribute to improved public safety, and will not put a strain on water, sewer, and will assist in keeping traffic levels down in the residential area. Allowing manufactured home parks in the area designated by the code that was amended in 2015 violates the purpose of UR1 zone, which is to preserve the semi-rural nature of the area. If parks are allowed, it will erode property values and will increase risk to public safety. Passing this provision in the first place was a bad idea. In 2015, one city council member even stated it, meaning the location on Empire between Fowler and Butler, was the least bad place to put it. Millwood's comprehensive plan on page 10 states, larger residential lots for single-family homes and duplexes will be required on the east side of the city to preserve the character of the neighborhood. Any mobile home park would violate the provisions of the comprehensive plan. We have not been provided, nor through substantial research have we found a Washington state code that requires cities like Millwood to allow mobile home parks. Although prior to the Millwood Municipal Code 17.52 being enacted in 2015, a fact acknowledged in the comprehensive plan on page 10, the currently cited mobile home park will continue to be allowed. Changing the code to allow for parks was and is unnecessary. The comprehensive plan does mention mobile homes. It does list providing designated areas for mobile homes as one of the community visions on page 9, but does not list mobile home parks. Since mobile or manufactured homes are treated the same as site-built homes in the city, deleting any reference to a manufactured home park will not violate the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan notes that the Washington Growth Management Plan requires cities to encourage the availability of affordable housing. Millwood already has adequate affordable housing that will meet the projection of a population increase. Now, assuming that this projection, that Millwood's population will increase to approximately 1,947 by the year of 2037, which would be an increase of approximately 70 population growth within the next 14 years. The size of Millwood and the adequate affordable housing already in Millwood is sufficient to meet that projection without any mobile home parks. Again, respectfully, we ask that you repeal the Millwood Municipal Code 17.52 in its entirety, as it is in accordance with the comprehensive plan and will remove a substantial negative impact on nearby properties. Thank you.
Okay. Time out. Any questions for the applicant?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners for the applicant? Okay, then, I'm just going up, I'm just going off my list here. So your presentation, you need to hand to me. You have to give it to me.
Okay,
Yeah, great. Perfect, thank you.
approach now.
Yeah, please. I'm just reading the rules.
Sorry for the little scroll.
Yeah, no problem, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll give this to the city to put in the record. Okay. Okay, now we'll open up for the public testimony. Tina, you're first one on the list. I'm assuming that was your testimony. Great, thank you. Okay. Is there anybody that wants to testify that has not signed the sign-in sheet?
I will.
Okay, okay. Ken Bain, you're first up.
My name is Ken Bain. I live at 9729 East Dalton. And I agree with everything Tina has said tonight. We want to maintain the rural feel of Millwood. And a trailer park does not maintain that rural feel. Like she mentioned in the comprehensive plan with the zoning over on our side of town, there's large lots and single-family residences. And a trailer park does not fit that at all. So, appreciate your time, thank you.
Great, thank you. Winston Wiggins?
I'm Winston Wiggins. My wife and I live at 9925 East Dalton. And we are signatories to the proposal that you have before you tonight. Controversy over the Magnolia Park, euphemistically named Magnolia Park Trailer Park, came up last winter. At the time, we were told that the allowance in the code to allow manufactured home parks in that little narrow rectangle in East Millwood was because Washington code required cities to allow manufactured home parks. That seemed a little peculiar to me, but, you know, I'm not the brightest guy about some things, so I decided to look into it. Over the past 10 months, I've talked to a lot of people. I've done my own research. I'm not a lawyer, but I've done my own research in Washington Code. I've talked to several people, multiple people involved in city government. And I've asked a simple question. What section of Washington Code requires cities to have manufactured home parks? Just point me there. I mean, that's all I want to know. It's a curiosity question. I haven't received a clear answer. The answers I have got range from trust us, it's there, to I can't discuss it because to discuss Washington Code would jeopardize ongoing litigation. I finally contacted one of our state representatives and asked him the question. He did some research over several weeks and he wrote back and said there is no such requirement in Washington Code. I see that the city planner reviewed the proposal that you have before you for consistency with state and federal law. Since she didn't indicate that it violated the law, I assume it does not. I saw the letter from the city attorney. I assume that if there was a violation of Washington Code internal here, that he would have brought it up, and he did not. So I'm assuming through osmosis that there is in fact no such requirement. I don't know why it was so hard to get this answer. And maybe I don't even have it yet. I asked, as I said, because I was curious. I wanted to know. Based on what I've learned, it seems clear that the decision to modify Millwood Code to allow manufactured home parks in this narrow spot in East Millwood was based on faulty information. I'm not here to affix blame. All we're asking is that this problem be corrected by reversing the code to what it was before the change in 2015. Doing so will protect nearby property values, it will reduce traffic congestion, and it will restore the code so that it is in fact consistent with the comprehensive plan. Let Millwood be Millwood. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then, sir, you didn't sign the sign-in sheet, but,
I didn't sign it.
no, come on in. We'll let you come on up.
Hi, I'm Alan Heideman. I live at 10404 East Empire. I'm not very political at things. I'm a sewer and water guy. Okay, so I don't know much about the codes, but I do know a little, I don't know anything about matrix except for overloading one way or the other is a matrix problem. How can you decide to put 24, they're gonna be travel trailers, they're not, whatever you wanna call manufactured, travel trailers are there. There'll be 24 of them on these little tiny pads on less than 2 acres. A little difference between the trailer park that is behind there, where there is space, living space. We like our green space here, our open space. That's why I bought it here. Another couple things, the birds gotta stay here. There's some birds that are cranes, and I gotta see their offspring again this year. Just about, I thank the people for changing and stopping this. So I just, like I say, matrix, do you really wanna overload the whole thing? How many trailers can you put in there? Hundreds. You can't drive down Empire half the time anyways. I don't wanna see it get ruined like that. And I don't think anybody else does. And I don't see the code saying that you wanna have them 10 feet apart and you got a parking and a half spot. Doesn't make sense to me there either. Won't be fixing any traffic problems in that neighborhood. It'll be terrible. Last thing, the sewer has issues and the water line is already taxed. So let's put a whole bunch in one spot so that the rest of the community can't put any more nice houses because there will not be enough water pressure or sewer capacity. I'm just saying there's some issues there, and I don't know if you guys know it. My word doesn't much mean anything except for I've lived there 35 years and I know what goes on. I grew up doing sewer and water lines, and I love the wildlife. The only thing I haven't seen is a bear in our neighborhood. Seen all the rest of them one time or other. So I hope you all see it our way a little bit. We enjoy our community, and if you want to ruin the whole deal, there's a few houses there they can just, they'll tear my house down because I have a whole acre. That means they can put 12 little trailer pads there. You guys, it's just not, this isn't cool. All right, thank you for listening to me. I'm sorry I didn't follow it quite right, but I got my point across, I hope.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody here in the audience that is representing the opposition to this? So I have a chance for some rebuttal or somebody else with another point of view? Or is everybody here supporting each other? Okay, great, thank you. Is there any final questions from the, your 3 minutes is up.
Hey, I have more things to say.
Is there any questions from the planning commissioners for the applicant? Okay, seeing none. I am going to now close the public testimony. And the planning commission will now go into deliberation over the proposal as presented. No further comments from the applicant or those giving testimony will be permitted. So I'll open it up for deliberation.
Have we seen a proposed plan for this trailer park? I haven't.
Okay, let me see if I can clarify something, or I want a clarification, okay? So the applicant and the people that testified on this are talking about a project. But all the things that I've seen in the application are non-project. There's not a project. So I'm just gonna say it, I've read my packet many times, thought about this a lot, and I'm sitting here going, we spent a lot of time on this matrix. Bob, you were involved, Jay, Suzanne, yeah,
That's me.
and Savannah. I'm sorry. Like I said, I spent a lot of time on this. Bill, I don't remember if you were on the commission at that time or not, when we did the GMA and all the matrix. But we did spend an awful lot of time on that. I mean, picking apart line item by line item. And in all honesty, I look at this and I'm going, well, why do we need to do anything? There's not a project. It's pretty clear that in the C1 and the UR1 zone, if somebody wants to bring a manufactured home park in, it's not allowed, it's under condition. So conditions would apply to it. So it's not like that if somebody wanted to bring one of those projects to the city, that we would not see it again as the planning commission, because we would.
No, there are conditions on it, but it is not a conditional use permit.
Right.
So it does not come to us. We would see nothing. It would, as long as they follow the conditions that are in the ordinance as it's written, it doesn't come to
Okay,
us.
okay.
It's an administrative review forwarded to the city council for final approval or denial.
And what I understand we're deciding here is, do we want to change that so there will never be one of those proposed because our matrix will not allow it? And that's, do we change the code to not allow any manufactured home parks? And that, I understand, is a question.
I think that is the proposal before you, is not singular unit manufactured homes, but manufactured home parks.
So what's the definition of a manufactured home park? Is there a number of?
There's a definition in our
I don't know.
code somewhere.
Well, so as I read through that, and I read the UR1, and I'm going, it had to have frontage of 80 feet and 10,000 square foot lot. So I'm not seeing this is going to be, if that was approved, if they follow that, it's not gonna be a density issue.
Correct.
Right, because do we know, is
But they-
24 a number we're just making up, or is that like actually what's happening?
I don't know.
I think we're straying into
There's not a project on board, so.
litigation right now.
You are, yeah, that, again, I'll just reiterate, there is not a project, nor is there an application for a specific project, nor is there a proposal, or any other word that starts with a P that looks like a project or a proposal before you. It's simply a code amendment. So to the extent that there is currently on review at the Superior Court, a project that was proposed to the city, went through administrative review, city council made a decision. That's not before you, nor has any relevance to you whatsoever. Regardless of what that decision is at the Superior Court, your decision tonight should not be affected by what is pending up there. What is presented in the application is it would be an elimination of the manufactured mobile home park concept within the city, which is otherwise allowed in two certain zones right now. Yeah, and I think they're looking for manufactured home park, which I believe is right there.
Yes. Manufactured home park is defined under Appendix A of the Millville Municipal Code. It means a parcel under single ownership developed in such a way as to meet the requirements under this code, allowing for the placement of two or more individual manufactured homes, mobile homes, or recreational vehicles on a lease or rental basis. The definition of manufactured mobile home means either a manufactured home or a mobile home, and manufactured home means a single-family residence constructed after June 15th, 1976, and in accordance with the state and federal requirements for manufactured home. If I may, I did look at the city requirements for manufactured homes, just in general, and they are currently in compliance with Washington state law and are consistent, so,
So 2 or more mobile homes on a parcel.
yes.
Only one person.
So my question would be, so 2 or more on a parcel, the parcel being a lot. but they'd still have to fall into that 80 feet or 100 feet of road frontage. And
All the
10,000 square foot,
underlying
they'd have to still meet that.
Yeah, so if 1752 is repealed, the way it's worded, there would be no new manufactured home parks as defined here. Manufactured homes on individual lots would still have to meet the requirements of the code.
And that's a requirement of Washington.
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Rickard, do you have any comment, thought?
I don't think so.
I wanted to kind of clarify something. It keeps coming up, 2015. I have documentation at home of this code being there just like it is now, before 2008. I believe, if my memory's at all correct, that it was put in when we put our comprehensive code in place and the GMA and all of that. It's been there from the beginning. And I think the concept was we had to have it because we needed to have a variety of home types for different income levels. That's what was explained to me at the time, before I was on the commission, when I was just a resident. So it's been there a long time. It was put there with the best of intentions. I think, like with our Shoreline Management Act and with this and other things, sometimes after you've lived with them for a few decades, maybe you need to tweak. So maybe, maybe this is reasonable under that, even though it was perhaps a good idea when it was put in. Also, I'm sure it was put in partly because there already was a manufactured home park in that location.
Yep.
So that's just kind of some of the history.
Okay. Commissioner Malter?
I'm concerned about repealing the entire chapter 17.52. I think there's some things in there that should be addressed. So I'm not in favor of repealing the entire 17.52 portion.
Commissioner Wu?
My only thought was that, is it legal then I'm assuming if it were to be a recommendation of denial, we are following Washington law if it's removed?
If the code is removed, you're not otherwise affecting the Washington state requirements of treating manufactured housing, which meets certain definitional requirements under state law and federal law. You're still obligated under Washington law to treat a manufactured house, singular, as a site built or single family residence. So that would not otherwise affect the state law requirements.
Any more deliberation?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Jay. I'm concerned. I have no trouble with changing the matrix to not allow new manufactured homes. But I'm concerned about the one that is there, and does it go into kind of a black hole of non-regulation? I mean, it's in a little bit of a black hole now, but maybe this brings up the idea that we should have something that applies to existing mobile home or manufactured home parks. If one of those units, one of the 6 units in the current park, has a tree fall on it, fire, whatever, just is destroyed, are they going to be able to bring in a new unit? If they bring in a new unit, does it have any kind of regulations it needs to adhere to? If we pull this out, there's really nothing to point to. So I'm a little, and this kind of sets forth what our ideal would be for that.
I agree.
I don't know, I wish it was simple, but
Well, if I'm reading the application right, when in the matrix that's been proposed for a manufactured home park, it says existing approved manufactured home parks only must comply with RCW 35A 35.312 and 35A.63 as amended.
But I have read that, RCW, and the RCW does not regulate anything
Okay,
except cities.
okay, because my question was, is this gonna trigger a whole bunch of new regulations on the existing manufactured home park that's there? Where if somebody wanted to go in and say, well, you guys aren't following the new compliance code, so tear them down.
Right, that is also a concern.
Right.
But that RCW really is irrelevant to them because it says, okay, Millwood, you can make rules if you want to do this, you can't make rules that say this. So it gives Millwood guidance, it does nothing to the individual units in the park at all. As I can read it.
Well, so 35A63, 146.
That's all about comprehensive.
No, it says a code city may designate a manufactured housing community as a non-conforming use, but may not order the removal or phased elimination of an existing manufactured housing community because of its status as a non-conforming use. It also has other prohibitions on the city because of an existing manufactured housing community. So that's why the RCW 35A63 was cited in the matrix, is the city cannot come in and otherwise regulate an existing manufactured housing park or community that exists in an effort to otherwise phase it out, regulate it, make it further non-conforming and take regulatory action that way.
So it tells us what we can do, maybe we should do that. You know, officially name it as a non-conforming, you know, and,
It says what you can do, but it also says you cannot order, you cannot
Right,
do certain,
right,
that's the, yeah, so it says both what you can do and what you can't do. under the
but it
statute.
doesn't really tell them anything, it tells the city. It tells them what the rights are, I guess, kind of roundabout, but it's not telling them you must have an internal toilet. You know, it's saying Millwood, you can tell them that if you want. You know, it does not feel like it belongs in the matrix, it feels like it belongs somewhere else in our code. I don't know.
But-
It's
Big picture, what you just said protects the already existing mobile home park.
Right.
Which is the whole point, which is what we wanna make sure we protect those existing homes.
And it's supplemented by 35A 21.312, specifically items 2, A, B, C, identifies the manufactured home parks permitted before 2008
So
and goes over the requirements.
what Bobby's looking at is changing the matrix, that's a different topic maybe than the idea of removing the mobile home park from the zone. Am I right?
Any new.
The new mobile home parks, yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think we kind of agree on what we want, it's just what is the best way to put it into our code? And do we end up with a bit of a hole with just the code saying what the city can do, but the city not actually doing it?
Does anybody have a motion?
I-
I mean, I know that's a tough question to ask, because I know we're all a little bit confused here, so.
Well, is there a?
Put the options back up. We're gonna put the options back on
Yeah.
the screen for you.
Let me find that.
Can we amend these options? Is that an option?
I would have to defer to Brian on that. Based on how I read it in the code, these were the two options for planning commission.
Okay,
Actually modifying the text was an option for council.
No, we've always modified, I mean,
I think,
we've always had three choices: approve, recommend approval, recommend disapproval, or recommend approval with certain changes. That's
on a
just,
city initiated.
On city initiated.
We've not had a citizen initiated code revision.
Yeah.
On a city initiated,
but part of this is city initiated.
Only the consistency part for the,
Oh, I thought that the matrix was city.
that is, for consistency.
Yeah, that's the part that's in doubt here. Or part of the part that's in doubt.
So I guess there is an option 1A, just concerning the matrix portion then.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Concerning the matrix portion, but I would caution that I want to make sure that the city is still adequately enforcing state law and that we have it in there that mobile manufactured home park on Trent is protected. And that's why the
That's
reference
in
in
there.
this, that in the table of permitted uses as I put it in.
Is there language? This is your meeting, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to understand what the concern is with the proposed language in the matrix, and is there better language? Since that is the city's, it's a citizen-initiated code revision, but in order to make the matrix jive with the proposal, the citizen proposal, there needs to be some corresponding action with the matrix as well. So I don't know if there's language that,
Bobby, would you have a suggestion for what the matrix would look like if?
Well, I've
differently?
been hoping for answers.
I mean, you could remove the specific reference to those RCWs and just put Washington state law as amended and MMC manufactured home standards as applicable.
And that would cover it.
Because I'm still having, it'll just make the planner have to search through the entire.
No, I mean,
That's what we were trying to avoid
Yeah.
when we
Yeah, that-
put the matrix.
Well, I guess we could deliberate, well, let's just deliberate this a little bit, okay? So, is the proposal consistent with the purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan for the physical development of the district or the city as applicable?
I'm sorry, can you say that?
Okay, is the proposal, is it consistent with the purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan for the physical development of the district or city as applicable?
And I think we've determined yes.
I think we have determined that's yes. Okay? It will not adversely affect health and safety and the welfare of the public.
well, that's where we get to the question.
Right.
Well, and we just discussed that with that code, those previous homes are protected,
They're grandfathered in.
grandfathered in.
They're grandfathered in, there's really no direction at, like I say, if one of them becomes uninhabitable and disappears, can another one be added?
It's not a legal question.
Yes, they can.
Yeah, I would say
It's a
yes.
pre-2008.
Okay.
And we have no rules to say what that new one coming in
Well, they would
has
have
to meet
to
because
follow the
we're doing-
basic manufactured home regulations.
At the time, yeah, it'd be a new permitted, they'd have to follow current code and
Yeah.
meet current standards.
So we don't have that in our code if we delete this.
well, that's the definition of manufactured home under state law, because it meets,
Including RVs.
yeah, meets the Washington, meets the federal defined standard for manufactured home.
Okay? And is not in violation of any state or federal law. I think we've determined that we're not in violation of state and federal law.
Right, correct.
Okay? So,
So it's the safety,
so if the answer to question number one, which the questions are right up here, the answer to question number one is yes. The question to question number two, if that is no, and if the answer to question number three is yes, then I think option one is what we do.
can we do option one with the recommendation to city council that they look into filling this hole, but deleting that? Just in case there are any existing manufactured home parks would have to meet these things and fill in the things that the state says we can fill in. You know,
Are you suggesting conditioned recommendation of the city council? I don't think so.
No, not exactly, because I don't want them to condition their decision. I want them to come back to us and say, hey, maybe we should write a little more code around this. Since we're deleting that part of the code, it feels like we should have something to replace it that covers this RCW, what we can and can't do.
Would we address that in a different meeting outside of this would that be something we would do with the commission?
That's what you would do as part of your code review or comp plan review or anything, and I would defer to you if that was something you'd bring forward, but I think that's what you do as a planning commission, is you do code reviews, you do comprehensive plan reviews. And in the past, when, throughout the accessory dwelling unit chapter and provisions, right, those have been noted at time and time again as, yeah, we need to come back and revisit those, or other sections, that is what the planning commission's done in the past, is made note of, we need to evaluate these certain aspects of the city code. Signage has been a constant kind of review as well.
So we could potentially address this issue, this potential loophole in a future meeting.
Yeah, well, we gotta review the comp plan again and
The next update is, will begin soon, probably 2024, late 2024 at the latest. It's due June 30th, 2026, with implementation, I believe at the same time, and ADU standards within 6 months, so December of 2026.
Didn't you guys
just
do that?
Yes, we did.
and remember how long it took us to do the last one.
But this is not really comprehensive plan, this is going over a specific
Right.
ordinance. Do we have the ability to send a letter to city council asking them to ask us to look into this? Or is that something beyond our?
I think you do, but I don't know if it's necessary. I think it's part of what the planning commission does through its code review processes anyway.
When is the last time we looked at a manufactured home park ordinance?
In the matrix.
It's not.
In the matrix is you looked at the
We
entire
stuck it into the
Title
matrix
17.
and
Yeah.
made sure it didn't get changed, but we've never evaluated it since its beginning in the late 1990s. So I think it needs to be specifically noted somewhere, or we won't.
Chairman, if I may, can I make a suggestion that you might want to consider?
Sure.
Can I make a suggestion? Madam?
Please.
If you look at an option 1A, so essentially you can make an additional suggestion to the matrix portion. It could be option 1 with a caveat for the city council to review matrix 17-1 as proposed for amendment to ensure protection of the existing manufactured home park. That's what your concern is, correct?
That's only part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to protect it, but I also want it to be able to grow and change in a safe manner. It's safe. Like I say, if those units get replaced, I want to be sure that we have something in our code that says how they're replaced, how they're changed, that they don't try to cram another unit in there. Because we won't have anything that says they can't decide to cram 2 or 3 more units in there.
But you may not have that authority anyway as a pre-existing authorized use.
Right. Well, that's something I think we need to be looking into to see. It brings up, I don't want to inadvertently create an issue that wasn't there before we just deleted this whole chunk. I get nervous when we delete whole chunks.
I think the one thing that's, I guess I would just caution sending a directive or request up to the council, because what you're doing then is you're going through a process with the city council to amend the matrix or potentially the code without any sort of, without this process, without a public hearing, without any discussion amongst the planning commission, without any involvement of the citizens. Because they do have that authority to amend it at the city council meeting when it's recommended. But they don't have this level of discussion about that particular piece of the code.
When it comes back to us, don't we always have some kind of hearing before we send it up to them again? Send our
Yeah, I
recommendations.
think you do with any of the code revisions, you at least have some discussion and solicit some public comment. I don't think you have to ask the council for authority to do it. This is part of what your designated statutory authority and code, Millwood Municipal Code Authority is to review and establish revision standards, policy under the city code. I mean, I think what's been done in the past is if there were concerns by the planning commission on a particular element. It's been noted in the staff report that the planning commission noted a concern and a need to go back and reevaluate something that is not directly pertinent to the decision. And the planning commission intends to do that through the planning director as well. I think you could do that. I mean, that's,
I like that.
that's
like
kind of
that.
been, that's been what's
That's
done
a
in the
good way to
past.
put it.
And then we can put it on our to-do list.
Yes.
Anything else? Anybody? Are we ready for a motion? Cause I'll make a motion. Yeah.
You make a motion.
Okay. I make a motion to recommend to the city council approval of the applicant's application.
I'd like to second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Before we go further, I just want to make a statement to the applicants. I can't tell you how impressed I am that you get a group of grassroots effort to get in front of the planning commission to get a code amendment or a code change done. I know what that takes to make that happen. I know that this was a very hot topic. And so I applaud you for gathering your neighbors together and putting this application forth. So congratulations.
Thank you. The research that went into it, you did a great job.
Okay, that brings us up to, do we have any public remarks not related to what we just did?
We do not.
Seeing none, we'll go to the city planner report.
So every month I compile a report for the city council on the actions and reviews, et cetera, the discussions that have been going on. And so what I've done, since we haven't met in a while, is basically compiled those reports together. So this will be current through September, October, November. Basically, I've reviewed everything from additions to homes, enclosed carports, the sign permits, a dock, lots of signs, duplex, ADU discussions, options for Millwood Presbyterian Church on certain uses in there, and the zoning text amendment for manufactured home parks. The majority of questions that are coming out right now are, include signage, potential accessory dwelling units, ADUs, using cargo containers for residential storage, potential duplex units, potential short plats, pre-applications, for variances and cafes, et cetera, and a detached pole barn garage. I also conducted multiple SEPA reviews for other agencies to see if they affected Millwood. We did not have any that did. Conducted comparable fee research and served with the Planning Technical Advisory Committee for recommendations to the Spokane County Steering Committee of Elected Officials concerning land capacity analysis methodology, grant opportunities, and population allocation discussions. That is my planner's report.
Any questions?
Can you read that?
Okay, that brings us to any commissioner comments. Commissioner Rickard. Commissioner Beasy.
I have two
Okay.
kind of announcements. Friday night is the Christmas tree lighting at IEP and the winter street fair at Dalton and Ardot. So it's always from 4 to 7, I think, are the hours. And then the other one is the Millwood Historic Calendar for 2024 is now out and available. It will be on sale at the Winterfest, and it's available at the corner door at any time.
Awesome.
Thank you. Commissioner Molitor.
I don't have any comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Wu.
No comments.
And I don't have any comments either, so happy holidays. And with that, next meeting date, do we customarily meet in December?
It was the next one on the calendar, however, I totally understand if you want to make it the January meeting.
Yeah, I would prefer to make it the last Wednesday in January, even though Jay's gonna be in Hawaii.
You don't wanna see us for Christmas?
I'm seeing you now. So, since it's on the agenda, we have to make a motion to change that to January, or what?
It would be then January 31st, 2024.
Okay, is anybody opposed to that?
No.
January 31st? Perfect, okay. With that, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make the motion to adjourn this meeting.
Okay,
I'll second.
now all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
Hi,
I attended, I thought.
Amanda Tanya. Yeah, I'm your contract city planner.
Except for simple.